All right, you want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days? Yeah, I bet. Who doesn't? You want to do it, and you want it to be extremely easy. Of course. I can do this. I can make this happen. I can even show you. But the reality is, you know you, and I have a feeling I know you too. But anyway, welcome to Walk Talk Vent. Let's do this.
Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. I'm always showing you someone that's going through some sort of side effect from a medication or from a surgery. Today we're going to look at something that's a little bit more positive and proactive for us and our plan. We're going to be looking at Shane Faison from Fight Tips. He's going to give us some information on water, which is something we're all about. So I'm going to be quiet. We're going to listen to what Shane has to say.
What's going on, guys? Shane here. Today we're talking about the importance of drinking water. How much should you drink in a day, and what are the benefits to staying hydrated? Number one, it supports your immune system. It cleans you out. I'm feeling a little under the weather right now, so I've been drinking a ton of water. I remember being at the doctor's office a couple years back with strep throat, and the doctor gave me medicine, but he said one of the most important things that you can do is just drink tons of water, like gallons, he said. So ever since, whenever I get sick, that's always my first go-to is to make sure I'm drinking a ton of water. Reason number two, brain health. So the brain is made up of almost 75% water. If you're hydrated, you're more likely to be in a better mood, to have a clearer memory, and to have more energy. Also, headaches are almost always caused by dehydration. So the next time you have a headache, drink a tall glass of water.
You know, it's interesting. I know that a lot of headaches are caused by dehydration. A lot of times when friends of mine have a headache, I actually tell them to drink a Coke because the caffeine can relieve the headache. But the reality is a tall glass of water probably relieve the headache even better. Great tip, Shane. Great tip.
Reason number three is muscle fatigue. Your muscles are made up of and need a lot of water. Now, here's the thing. I don't like drinking water during my workouts because it gives me stomach cramps. So that's more reason why you should be drinking water throughout the day. Reason number four is water increases your metabolism and it will help you lose weight. So if you're looking to eat less food, it's recommended that a half hour before you eat, drink a glass or two of water and it'll make you feel more full. This way you'll eat less food.
So again, I don't know if water has any effect on metabolism at all, but what he said there really makes a lot of sense. Water takes up space, right? If you fill up some of that space in your stomach right before you eat, it probably will work as a pretty decent appetite suppressant. Definitely.
Reason number five is joint health. Now, our joints are lined with a connective tissue, a cartilage that is made up of mostly water. So the more water that we have in our body, the more protection and cushion that our joints have, the less chance of injury. Gatorade, I like mixing sports drinks like Gatorade or Powerade, half and half water, half Gatorade. Otherwise, there's just too much sugar in there. Or coconut water is a great way to rehydrate. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I hope this was an educational video, and you're more likely to drink more water.
So we're going to see a second video here in a second, but back to what he was saying, great tips. There's nothing magical about water, but if you substitute the Cokes and the chocolate milk and the sweetness that you put in your tea or your coffee for water, you're going to be on the right page and you're going to be heading in the right direction. Now, here's a little treat for you. I'm 47 now, but once upon a time I was 34, and when I had a 32-inch waist, and it might have been closer to a 30-inch waist because you're about to see some vintage Walk Talk Vent when I was 34, and I still believed in the power of water, and I'm going to sound a lot like Shane just did. Check this out.
Okay, you wake up one day and you realize that you're no longer the queen of the prom, and you realize that you're no longer captain of the football team, and you want to lose weight, and like everybody else in the world, you want it to be easy. Well, I'm going to tell you the easiest way to lose weight. It's the water diet. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I've tried dropping soda before and drinking water, and Jesse, frankly, it just doesn't work for me. Well, you did it wrong. You were trying to substitute your favorite drinks for something that has no flavor. Water. Now, I know what you're thinking. I like the taste of water. Well, so do I, but let's be honest, it doesn't compare to Coca-Cola, and it probably doesn't compare to your beer, right? And it doesn't really go well with your meal. I understand all that, but let me tell you something about water. Water takes up space. There's space in your stomach. What I want you to do is this. The next time you want to give the water diet a try, do it this way. Before every meal, And before every snack, you drink a full glass of water. Now, a full glass of water, doesn't have to be a big 64 ouncer. It can just be an 8 to 10 ounce glass. But the key to the water diet is actually taking up that space in your stomach that you would normally fill with food. So what you're gonna do is literally before breakfast, I'm gonna have a glass of water. After breakfast, before lunch, I'm gonna have a glass of water. Before dinner, I'm gonna have a glass of water. And if you like to snack 3 or 4 times during the day, you're gonna have a glass of water. What's gonna happen is you're gonna be peeing all the time, but more importantly, your stomach's gonna feel full. Now that's an appetite suppressant. And you wanna be a waist size 32 like me at the age of 34, that's how you do it. Have a good one.
Who was that skinny guy? Hey, listen, I have a firm belief that I'll be back there in about 2.5 months, but I also have a firm belief that you're going to be feeling a lot skinnier soon as well. I just want you to know water is not a new phenomenon. It's something that I've believed in wholeheartedly forever, and I have a feeling you guys have too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here with me. With that being said, why don't you go get your shoes? Why don't you grab an extra bottle of water? Let's go for a walk.
About 177, so yeah, I'll definitely take it. With the camera adding an extra pound or so, and then this isn't the most accurate scale, but it's still definitely no longer 185. Now you guys might be saying, hey, the shoes are missing. Yeah, but are the shoes a part of you? Probably not.
Guys, it's Jesse. Listen, I'm going to start losing weight fast, and so are you. I've always walked, but a few years ago, I wanted to get abs. And so I started watching YouTube videos on cutting sugar, and I started seeing abs appear. Because when you eliminate sugar, you're only left with water and unsweetened tea to drink. And I started dropping weight like crazy. Look, I can do this, but I've always known I could. You can do this. I promise you, you can. We can do this. Are you with me or what? Let's do this.
So one of my comments that I got recently said, hey, for anybody to jump on the scale with their shoes on is real brave. And I assume they said that because, it's kind of traditional that if you feel like your weight might be a little heavy, you want to get your car keys out of your pockets, you want to strip off your shoes and see where you actually weigh. So for fun, yesterday I took off my shoes, took my keys out of my pocket, right? And I didn't hold the camera, just kind of wanted to get an idea of where my weight was. And for yesterday alone, my weight was 177. So I have a feeling that my weight is starting to get back a little quicker than normal, which probably goes back a little bit to muscle memory, because I really am a 160-pound guy that just happened to get up to 185, So I just want to let you guys know that things are going to start changing for you, hopefully here pretty soon, because we are getting to the point where we've been going about 3.5 weeks. And the reason I say 3.5 weeks is because you got to remember, about a week before I started filming, I was already filming some walks. I just wasn't fully committed to the no sugar that first practice week. But the last week or so, I have been, actually the last week and a half or so, I've been in absolutely no sugar mode other than my, bananas and what have you, and whatever natural sugars come in things like milk and whatever it is you might be eating. I wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about competition. If I all of a sudden do my official weigh-in here in the next day or two for the upcoming video, because I like to weigh myself for you guys about once a week, just so you can see that sometimes I don't lose anything. Sometimes I might lose a pound or two. Sometimes you might have a couple pounds come off, right? These things are all normal. Sometimes you might even gain a pound. But the reason I want to talk about competition is, what happens if you see me over the next couple of weeks get to the point where I've lost a solid 10 pounds, and I mean even with my camera and even with my shoes on? It could become quite easy to become discouraged. But you got to try to remember that the best person to compete with in life is actually yourself. The first competition when you're dealing with this type of exercise situation is you just want to tell yourself, hey, I'm walking a little bit further than I ever have before. I'm walking a little bit faster than I used to, right? Man, I haven't had a month like this where I haven't had any Pepsi or Coke or root beer or Sprite in a long time. Those are real accomplishments. Those are things to be proud of. And those are things that don't necessarily show up on the scorecard, right? If after 3 or 4 weeks you're still at 0, remember, that's still very much normal, okay? Also remember that when I'm taping this, I am a couple days ahead of you. I've been walking for years. I've got a lot of muscle memory in me because it's not uncommon for me to do little push-up and sit-up challenges for myself. When I do push-ups and sit-ups, or when I go to the gym and lift some weights, I'm not a hardcore guy. I go to Planet Fitness, where most people don't really work out that much, you know. But again, when you do push-ups and sit-ups, or if you get some dumbbells and you do some mild lifting with your arms or your legs or whatever, a lot of times that's good so that as you're losing weight, you maintain or even sometimes gain a little muscle. Well, it really is true that muscle weighs more than fat. So you could very well have a situation where the only number it shows in is your waistline, right? If all of a sudden you're the exact same weight, but instead of a waist size 42, you're at a waist size 38 or a 36, something magical is happening to your body. You're getting more athletic. The stronger and more athletic you are, that's your body's way of giving yourself a green light to walk further, okay? And to walk a little faster. Now, I'm not a big fan of power walking, right? I'm not a huge fan of putting ankle and wrist weights on, right? Those are things that kind of take away from a walk. It's not necessary. It's also not necessary that you do 1,000,000 miles of extra credit all the time, or that you do all 3 phases, right? These are things that I challenge you to do, and someday you will be completely ready to go full bore. But some of you might not ever want to go full bore, you know? When I look at my analytics, it looks like some people watch my show in the middle of the night. Now that could be Americans watching at midnight just for fun, right? It also could be people in England and Australia and different parts of the world watching during the day. If you watch in the middle of the night and you take mental walks with me and you might not have ever walked before, maybe put that in the notes. I also want to find out how many days people have walked, because I'd like to take note of that and let them know how proud I am of your accomplishments. So do me a favor. If you've been walking with me for more than 1 day, put it in the comments. If this is your day 2, actually, if this is your day 1, I still want to know. Tell me how long you've been walking with me, and I'll try to give you guys a shout out. If you guys leave a lot of comments and you notice that I never shout you out, just tell me how many days you've been going with me, even if it's a mental walk and not a physical walk. But again, when you compete with people, it's very easy to get discouraged. The number 1 person you should compete with is yourself. Yeah. And here's the thing. When you compete against yourself, it's really, really neat, because you can actually see and chart your progression, how you're getting better, okay? If your first week you were taking 10 or 15-minute walks and you've baby stepped yourself up to a half-hour walk, give yourself a pat on the back. Yay! That's a great accomplishment, in my opinion. If you went from drinking 3 sodas a day to 1, give yourself a pat on the back. That is awesome. Now remember, even if you decide to hang out with your grandkids or your kids this weekend and you down 1, 2, or 3 sodas, don't quit. Just go right back to the plan, right? Drinking water, walking, avoiding sugar, right? You're allowed to have a slip up every now and then, and let's take that word out of your vocabulary. Let's not even see it as a slip up. It's really just life. It's life, right? Sometimes we're watching a football game. What if you're watching the Super Bowl and it's 5 hours worth of game and halftime festivities? You might be eating chips and dip that whole time. You might be eating 2 or 3 meals and a lot of fun stuff with the family. That just happens, you know? But it doesn't mean that you go from that to just, this is my life again, eating a bunch of junk food. No, enjoy your day. That's moderation, believe it or not. If you do that and go right back to your diet and exercise plan, I would consider that moderation. What I don't consider moderation is when you say, I'm just gonna have 2 sodas every day rather than 10. Okay, that's a good plan and you're going in the right direction, but it's still gonna lead to you always being addicted to soda. And I think we should take food for what it is. It really is an addictive substance for some of us, most of us actually. I don't think we should run and hide from it, right? Because we have to eat. You know, that's the difference between a food addiction and an actual drug addiction. When you're in a drug addiction, you really need to go 100% away from your drug to get away from it, right? There's no like halfway there. And if you are, stuck on methadone because you used to have a heroin addiction, keep doing what you're doing. But I'm not necessarily talking to you as much as just the average person that's trying to get off cigarettes, beer, or drugs. It's got to be all or nothing, But with food, it's never going to be that way. The food addict has no choice but to eat food every day, right? So in that regard, a food addiction might even be a little bit more challenging, So what we have to do is we have to learn to enjoy dull foods. The video I made with Natalie DeGrazia, one of the things that she talks about is spicy foods. That every food she eats is spicy. And if she eats something that's not spicy, she adds spices to it to make it spicy. Well, here's the only problem with that. You're making all your food taste delicious all the time. And those are foods that make it a little bit more challenging to resist. As long as you can tell yourself that, hey, from the 1950s up until today, so the last 80 years basically, scientists, chemists, food production people have been in the business of making food that much more addictive. If you ever get a chance to take a look at a video or this particular book, take a look at a book called The Dorito Effect. Did I read it? No, but I did just as good. I saw YouTube videos on it. This guy, I think his name was Mark Schwartzberg, but I might be saying that wrong. He goes into detail about exactly how Doritos went from just a plain chip to the chip that we know and love today. And I don't think I can eat just one Dorito, and I don't think you can either. Doritos are famous for you being able to not only eat the bag, but the crumbs at the bottom. And oh, by the way, are those Dorito crumbs at the bottom heavenly or what? How many times were you broke in your 20s, renting an apartment with your best buddy or your girlfriends, right? And all of a sudden, you're eating Doritos left and right. And you get down to the bottom of the bag. We've all eaten that junk at the bottom of the Dorito bag. That's half Dorito, half scientific formula, and it's delicious. So you got to remember that moderation, in my opinion, and I hope you guys are starting to agree with me, it needs to be that special occasion. That's how we should view moderation, because moderation really does kill a diet, you know? If you're like me and you've been known to have high cholesterol, these walks and oatmeal and Metamucil and water, they can really kind of thin that gunk out of your blood, so to speak. I've been able to have good lab reports through the years because of how much I walk and because of how much I avoid sugar. But I'll tell you what, when I started eating poorly, started doing my lab work after eating poorly, guess what? I went right back into pre-diabetic mode. Should we look at pre-diabetic as a reason to go on Ozempic, Wegovy, or get a weight loss surgery? I don't know. Doesn't pre-diabetic mean you're not quite there? That's what pre means, right? You're not quite there. So isn't pre-diabetic actually a great place to say, I need to start doing what I haven't been doing? I need to start walking every day, Jesse. Can you help me? Of course. Of course I can. Jesse, I need to quit eating sugar, but I'm the only one in my house, and it just seems like a cruel thing to see everybody else eating the yummy stuff and I have to avoid it. You don't have to avoid anything. Do what you want to do. But here's the thing. If you end up having a heart attack, or end up having a stroke, or end up having bad health, what's your excuse going to be? That your family and friends didn't want to quit the Oreos with you? You know? Sometimes people are in great shape and they have that high metabolism, I guess you could say. And sometimes they really don't want to mimic you in your dieting practices. That's just a reality. And even though you think your husband and wife love you, and they do, it doesn't mean they want anything to do with the diet and exercise plan. When I was married, my wife could have very much used a daily walk and an exercise and diet plan in general. She wanted nothing to do with it. Funny thing about my ex-wife, when she went and got her lab work done like 20 years ago or whenever it was, she had like the health of an Olympic athlete. It was crazy. When big people that could lose a few pounds have great lab work, it's really hard to get them to want to change anything, because they're like, I'm healthy as a horse. Yeah, but you're built like one, you know? So, again, just want to let you know that the best person to compete with is the man in the mirror, you know? And if you keep walking religiously, and if you keep drinking water and avoiding the soda and the sugars, it doesn't matter if it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to start going in the right direction. It doesn't matter if it takes you 4, 5, or 6 weeks to go in the right direction. Once you start going in the right direction, your body's going to become that much more efficient, right? And as you lose weight, it's going to become easier and easier to continue walking and doing your diet. Believe it or not, it's easier for a 180-pound guy to walk than it is for a 220-pound guy, right? And think about it, as the heat rises, the 220-pound guy is going to probably sweat more than the 180-pound guy. Not in all situations. I've met some guys that weigh much less than me that sweat like crazy, right? And I'm the type, and I can't stand this, but I'm the type that once I do start sweating, oh my God, it doesn't stop, right? But if I don't sweat, like in cool weather like this morning, you know, I don't feel like walking makes me sweat. It does in the afternoon though. So I don't want you to think that there's no benefit to walking. And some people will tell you there's no benefit to walking. Guys, we know the benefit. A half-hour walk kills about 150 to 200 calories. So throw that out. Whoever tells you walking's no big deal, Mom, you need to jog. Just tell them that you're not going to jog, you're going to walk. It's really hard to become a jogger. You know, if you've been doing it since cross country back in high school, right? You were on the cross country team. Well, then maybe you have a natural jogger or runner in you. And as you lose weight with me walking, you probably will eventually get to the point where you want to try a couple more 1 or 2 mile runs. And if you do, good for you. But remember, when you were in your 20s, your knees, ankles, all your joints, they were well lubricated and they were in good shape. They might not be in that great of shape right now, okay? If you haven't jogged in the last 30 years since you were on the cross-country team, jogging might be different for you now. It might not be fun at all. As we get into the warmer months, if you do start developing leg rashes, try compression shorts. Apparently compression shorts really do work, and I'll probably end up going to Target or Walmart and picking myself up a couple pairs. If you're starting to sweat and you develop ingrown hairs, don't battle through it. A gnarly ingrown hair led to my surgery. Not fun, okay? Don't shave yourself down there all the time. But if you have no excuses, and some of you know who you are, and you're still not walking or drinking, why not? Ask yourself that. Your excuse and your hurdle in life might just be laziness. And that's a legitimate excuse, a legitimate hurdle. I would say a good 7 or 8 out of 10 of us are legitimately lazy. And listen, I might have all the energy in the world for a walk. That doesn't mean I'm not the most lazy guy in the world sometimes, because sometimes I am. And sometimes you might be too. If you know in your heart that you want to do this routine, and you know in your heart that the best time for you to do it is after work, but you're just exhausted after work, well, sometimes don't we have to go to plan B in life? Plan B says, hey, I know you'd rather walk after work, but you're exhausted and it's getting hotter outside. Why don't you do what Jesse did and just try to wake up a little bit earlier and do your walk in the morning when it makes more sense? That way your walk energizes you rather than just makes you more tired, right? Last thing I want you to do is go for a walk and then come home and ignore the family and go to bed. You know, you want to have energy for your family. That's another reason why we're going through this, right? There's health, there's your weight, there's the way you look, there's the way your clothes feel, right? But what about energy? Doesn't energy equate there? Don't you want to know that if you're 20 or 30 pounds less, you're going to have more of it? Because you are. And I think that's a positive side effect of this too, right? If anybody has even one day out of this past 3 or 4 weeks, even one day, if you've eaten a bowl of oatmeal, please put it in the comments. I want to know that I'm not the only one. Misery loves company. And I'll tell you what, if the most miserable part of your day is your unsweetened oatmeal, then that's a pretty good day. I remember this gentleman when I was growing up. He was kind of like a stepdad figure to me because he was my mom's boyfriend for quite a few years. His name was Tommy Evans. He's no longer with us. He's up in heaven. Bless your soul, Tommy. You were a great guy. You are a great guy. You have eternal life. I'm sure of it. He used to be the type that would wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning for his construction job. So sometimes that morning walk really is tough. The good news about being a construction worker is you really are working out the whole day. Your job is nothing but work. So you're one of those folks that if you do the 2/3 rule, which is simply drink water, avoid sugar, you're probably going to be in great shape. Now, the truth is most construction workers aren't in great shape, but that's because they eat horribly and they don't really stick to the water rule, right? But if you ever meet one that's built well, they probably are eating better than their coworkers and friends, you know? I love when you walk in a patch of shade and all of a sudden it feels like air conditioning, right? Keep in mind, I'm in Arizona, so where you live, it might the warmth might not be an issue at all, but that means the cold might, right? And if it's raining or if it's snowing, I would love for you to fight that and still go out for your walk. But if it's impossible, again, I've said this before, I would love for you to ponder the idea of maybe getting a little cheap gym membership. You don't have to necessarily go gung-ho, but just go in there and use the treadmill on rainy and snowy or super hot days. Let's be proactive, because otherwise you're going to be reactive and it's going to cause you to miss some workouts in the future. And I don't want that to happen. And what a great workout we have, walking. Oh my goodness. You're never going to hear a coach go, push it, because you're walking, you know? God, I used to hate football practice. You'd be lifting weights on Wednesdays, and the coach and your teammates would be yelling you to push it, and you're like, oh my God. Weights are something that's interesting though too. You might lift weights your first day or two and think, oh my God, I'm naturally weak. But there actually is a period of time where your body has to get used to lifting weights. And when I got out of high school, I got a membership at this place called Bally's Total Fitness. Put a little I remember Bally's in the comments section if you ever had a membership there. And I just remember I got to the point where I really enjoyed things like push-up and never really enjoyed squats. Oh my God, squats made me feel awful. But if you like working out, if you're young enough and you feel like you can still handle it, go for it. And there are people that'll say, don't ever say that, Jesse. If you're young enough, comment. People of all ages can work out, and that's true. Don't limit yourself based on your age, but take precaution based on your age. If you're in your 60s and you want to go lifting, take advantage of the baby steps, you know? So let's go over the rules. Let's go over the game plan. Most people use their family and their job as a reason to quit. I want you to use your family and job as a catalyst, as the reason that you start your walking and exercise routine. If you leave every day and get in your car at 7:30 to go to your job, I want you to start getting out of your house at about 5 minutes till 7, and I want you to start the day with a half-hour walk. You have to trust me on this, guys. We have to make your job where it's actually the reason that you walk, okay? If you want to do extra credit, the best extra credit is right when you get home, before you step foot in the house, take a half-hour walk, okay? If you do that, now you've set up a situation where you're walking twice a day and you're killing about 400 calories over the course of those 2 walks, okay? In addition to that, I want you to take your sodas and I want you to start weaning yourself. If you're drinking 4 sodas a day, I want you to try to cut that down to 3. If you're drinking 3, I want you to cut it down to 2 or 1, and I want you to try to get to the point where you go from soda to Kool-Aid to water, okay? Keep going down with it. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
How are you?
Good. Have a good walk. Again, every day with his dog. Notice that he's really athletic looking, okay? He probably did do sports when he was in school. He might still be in school for all I know. And then, so we talked a little bit about your soda consumption. That goes the same for food, right? If every day you reward yourself with a donut and a piece of cake and a Kit Kat bar, go ahead and cut 1 out at a time, okay? If walking is something you're not used to, you don't have to start with a 30-minute walk. Go for a 15 or 20-minute walk, okay? You're gonna drink water every day, you're gonna walk every day, and you're gonna avoid sugar every day.